Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Wednesday, June 24th, 2020. Today I'll be discussing Major League Baseball's plan even more as the two sides agreed on health and safety protocols for the 2020 season. I'll discuss the latest NBA news as some players are opting to sit out the Disney return. We'll go over the KBO results from this morning and look ahead to the games tomorrow. We'll go over the soccer games from yesterday and pick the games that will be played today. We will discuss the Travelers Championship, which a big name in golf has withdrawn due to somebody testing positive for COVID-19 is Catter. And I'll discuss Madison's bracket of glory as the round of 64 begins today. Major League Baseball is back, folks. As I mentioned a couple seconds ago, the two sides came to an agreement of safety and health protocols. The season is supposed to start July 23rd or the 24th. 60 games, 5 playoff teams per league. You also have 40 division games per team and 20 games against the interleague of the same region. So, for example, the American League East will play 40 games against each other by each team and then 20 games against the NL East. So, say you're the Yankees, you'll be playing the Red Sox, the Orioles, the Blue Jays, and the Rays a combined 40 times, 10 times each. And then the other 20 games, you'll be seeing them play the Mets, the Phillies, the Marlins, the Nationals, and the Braves 5 times each. So that's pretty much how it would break down. The trade deadline the league announced would be August 31st. So it's at the midway point of the shortened season, pretty much. And then all players who each team plans on having its postseason roster on must be on the roster by September 12th. So I guess that's when the postseason roster deadline essentially would be on September 12th. So looking forward to it, and the only threat that could take this away is obviously COVID-19, which we'll get into more related to golf in a couple minutes here on the podcast. Now we'll talk about the NBA a little bit. I meant to bring this up on the show the last couple days, how there are some players that are not participating in the NBA's restart due to the virus. Among them is Los Angeles Lakers role player shooting guard Avery Bradley, who's a good two-way player. That is a loss for the Lakers, and reports are out is that the leading candidate to take that roster spot, J.R. Smith. It makes all the sense in the world. They can use some shooting off the bench. Obviously a former teammate of LeBron in Cleveland, somebody that's played in big games with the Cavaliers and with the Knicks and with the Nuggets over the years. So I think he would really help out the Lakers. Davis Bertans is not going to be a part of the NBA restart from the Wizards. That is a huge loss for them. He was having a career year with them, averaging, I think, like 18 a game for them. He was their starting power forward. So that is a big loss for that team and their hopes of stealing that last playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. It would just have to take a miracle for Bradley Beal to single-handedly carry that team, and some injuries among some of the other Eastern Conference teams. I know Kyrie Irving being out, I think, could potentially cost Brooklyn. They didn't have Kevin Durant all year, so that's not really a quote-unquote loss for Brooklyn. But they did sign Tyler Johnson the other day to a roster spot, and he's somebody that pretty polarizing, was great on Miami. Then Brooklyn signed him to an offer sheet. Miami matched it. And in Miami, he was just dying to get rid of his contract because he's somebody that wasn't living up to that contract. So they traded him to Phoenix, and then Phoenix flat out released him. So it's good to see Tyler Johnson getting a second chance here in the league with a team in the Nets that are trying to get that last playoff spot, or one of the two last playoff spots in the Eastern Conference, as the NBA is doing a 3-star. Another role player that's not taking part in the NBA restart is Blazers forward Trevor Ariza. That is a huge loss for the Blazers. He's somebody that came over to them at the trade deadline and was helping them, whether it be a spot starter or off the bench. He's not the same player he used to be when he was on the Lakers and was on the Wizards for a little while there. But it's a loss for them. He's somebody that is a veteran, big games with the Lakers, with the Wizards, with the Rockets, and now he decides not to participate in the restart. He has some personal issues going on with a divorce in his life, trying to get custody of his son. So he's taking the summer off. So that's a big loss for the Blazers. And before I move on to the KBO, Nikola Jokic tested positive for COVID-19. He is asymptomatic, which is a good thing. And so he should be okay to go. And he's going to be late for the restart as he is currently in quarantine. So best wishes to Nikola Jokic. Now I'm going to go over the KBO games from yesterday. And I will, or this morning, and look ahead to the games that will be played tomorrow morning. 4 of the 5 games were postponed. Kia Latte, Doosan SK, Kaiwum LG, and NCKT, all due to weather. Samsung over Hanwha was the only game that was played today. 3-2 is the final. Games tomorrow at 2 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, 3 o'clock p.m. in Korea. The Dinos and the Wiz, the Bears and the Wyverns, the Heroes and the Twins. The Latte Giants are hosting the Kia Tigers. And at 5:30 a.m. Eastern Time, you got the Samsung Lions hosting the Hanwha Eagles, and then some doubleheader games for those teams starting at 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. Kia Latte, NC, KT, Doosan SK, Kaiwum, and LG. So I think the Dinos will sweep the doubleheader. Kia and Latte, I think, will split. Doosan and SK, I think Doosan will win both, and Kaiwum and LG, I think, will split. And I think Samsung will knock off Hanwha in the only matchup that's not a double header. Now I'm going to go over soccer from yesterday and look ahead to today. We'll start in the Premier League, in which there were some interesting results in from yesterday. Leicester City and Brighton tied at 0. Tottenham over West Ham 2-0. Today, about to start in 7 minutes from now, Norwich City and Everton. The pick here for this matchup is Everton. They're minus 110 on the road at Norwich City, so I'm going to go with Everton. Wolves and Bournemouth. I'm going to go with Wolves. They're minus 175. Newcastle and Aston Villa. I'm going with Newcastle at home. They're plus 135. Manchester United and Sheffield United. I'm going to go with Manchester United. They're big favorites at minus 270. Liverpool and Crystal Palace at 3:15 Eastern Time today. Liverpool's the easy pick. They're minus 320. I'm parlaying those 5 picks plus 1168 is what it would all add up to. And now I'm going to do La Liga results from yesterday and pick the 3 matchups today. Valladolid and Getafe ended in a 1-1 draw. Atletico Madrid over Levante 1-0. Barcelona over the Athletic Club 1-0. Today, 2 matchups at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Alaves and Osasuna and Real Sociedad and Celta Vigo. I'm going to go with the draw in the Alaves Osasuna matchup at plus 190. So I'm going to go with the draw there. And I'm going to go with Real Sociedad at home over Celta Vigo. Sociedad is plus 115. And then 4 o'clock Eastern today, Real Madrid hosting Mallorca. Real Madrid's the easy pick. They're minus 750, so I'm going to parlay those 3 results. Real Madrid, Sociedad, and the draw between Alaves and Osasuna. And it brings me a shade above 6-1 for a nice looking parlay there. All right, now I want to discuss the PGA Travelers Cup. Brooks Koepka, unfortunately, had to withdraw from the tournament, and Brooks Koepka was obviously my pick to win the tournament, but he had to withdraw from the Travelers Championship after his caddy tested positive for COVID-19. So no Brooks Koepka for the tournament. And now there's word out there that PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan will hold a press conference at Travelers at 2 o'clock Eastern today. In my opinion, that's not a good sign. I think there's a chance they cancel this or at least postpone it for another weekend, and they'll have the golfers on like a 2-week quarantine or a 1-week quarantine. But I could be wrong. Maybe they'll still go on with the tournament because you never know. But normally press conferences are not really a good sign. So, yeah, I won't be surprised if we don't see a PGA Travelers Cup this weekend. And that's very unfortunate because golf had 2 successful events the last 2 weekends, and then you have a couple positive coronavirus cases, and then they decide to cancel. But you're seeing in all over sports how players are getting tested positive and they're asymptomatic. Apparently, Brooks Koepka's caddy's asymptomatic. If you're asymptomatic, you should be okay. Just quarantine, wash your hands, do your thing, and stay safe and wear a mask. But you never know, and hopefully they do not cancel this, and maybe they just maybe postpone it for a weekend, or they're announcing an increase of testing that the PGA Tour supplied, and they will continue on with the tournament as planned. We'll obviously discuss what the press conference is ultimately about on the show tomorrow. But just in case there is a Travelers Championship, I'm going to give you guys another pick. I'm going to go with Dustin Johnson at 25-1. Dustin Johnson really came along strong at the tail end there of the RBC Heritage, and I think that things are heading in the right direction for him, and I think that he'll come out strong, and I think that is a good value play there, 25-1 for Dustin Johnson to win the Travelers Championship coming up here this weekend, assuming that there is golf. Now I'm going to discuss my bracket of glory. I did the bracket of pain. We all know that my pick turned out to be the Knicks being one pick away from Stephen Curry, and I explained on the show it was because that it was franchise changing, or would have been franchise changing if the Knicks selected Stephen Curry, and then there's Nick Naysayers saying, oh, well, he would have been injured a lot more. I mean, you don't know that. You're just saying that because the Knicks have just been terrible at luck. But you never know with these kind of things. And the reason why I picked that is because I think Stephen Curry is a Hall of Famer. He is somebody that is going to go down as one of the best offensive players and shooters that this league has ever seen, one of the most entertaining players. He would have been the biggest star in New York, over Aaron Judge, over, I don't know about Derek Jeter at the time, but once Derek Jeter retired, he would have been the biggest star in New York. He would have been ahead of Eli Manning. He would have been ahead of Matt Harvey was big at the time. He'd be bigger than Jacob deGrom here. He'd be bigger than Henrik Lundqvist here. He'd be bigger than a lot of other big names that currently or formerly played in New York. So that's why one pick away from Stephen Curry was my bracket of pain winner choice. And that was the runner-up voted by Twitter. Twitter's pick for my most painful moment was the Yankees in 2017 losing to the Astros. But I think that was because of recency bias and because the Astros cheated. So that was weird that that 11 seed wound up winning the Twitter bracket. So now I'm going to preview the round of 64. Couple play-in matches. My regions, by the way, are the unforgettable region, the excitement region, the improbable region, and the fun region. So I'm going to go over the winners of those regions by myself and by Twitter. 11 seed play-in match in the excitement region. Carlos Beltran big home run versus the Blue Jays against Carl Hagelin overtime goal eliminating the Penguins in 2015. I advanced the Hagelin overtime goal eliminating the Penguins over Beltran's big home run against the Blue Jays in 2015 at a time where the Blue Jays had just acquired David Price and Troy Tulowitzki. The Yankees were 2-1 underdogs to win that game outright. Everybody was doubting the Yankees. People were throwing in the towel, saying their season was over. I think the pundits wound up being right on that one as they lost to the Astros in the wild card game. But that was a big win for them at the time, so that was a moment that meant a lot to me at the time as a younger fan. And I advanced the Hagelin overtime goal because that was a playoff moment that was obviously bigger, and it was against a rival in the Penguins. The 11 seed matchup in the fun region is a battle of A-Rod moments. His 3,000th hit against his 600th home run. Twitter and I had a disagreement here. I had chosen this 3,000th hit because it came off of Justin Verlander. And it was at a time where he was playing well, and the Yankees in that surprising 2015 season I just alluded to with Beltran's home run, it just had more meaning to me because of who it was off. A-Rod's 600 home run, meanwhile, was inevitable too, but that came off of a scrub pitcher from the Toronto Blue Jays, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously the 3,000th hit was a home run off of Justin Verlander into the short porch and right at Yankee Stadium. So I'm going to advance A-Rod's 3,000th hit over his 600th home run. 16 seed play-in matches. Victor Cruz's long touchdown against the Eagles versus 3 grand slams in a game. That is the 16 seed play-in match in the fun region. Twitter and I disagreed. Twitter chose the 3 grand slams in the game, and that was against the Oakland Athletics. If I'm not mistaken, the players that hit grand slams were Nick Swisher, Mark Teixeira, and Curtis Granderson. Although one of them may have been Robinson Cano, but I know Granderson was definitely involved in it. And then it was either the two of the other three Grand Slams were Robinson Cano, Nick Swisher, or Mark Teixeira. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Teixeira and Swisher that hit the other two Grand Slams in that game. I had chosen Cruz's long touchdown against the Eagles because it was his first NFL touchdown, and that was his sort of breakthrough moment. Although many people point to that big touchdown against the Jets as his breakthrough moment, but everybody forgets about this long touchdown he had against the Eagles in a game where nobody expected the Giants to win because they had a lot of injuries, and then they proved doubters wrong by going into a hostile Lincoln Financial Field, pulling off a big upset over Michael Vick and the Philadelphia Eagles. The 16 seeds in the unforgettable region is a battle of J.R. Smith buzzer beaters. One against the Phoenix Suns, the other against the Charlotte Bobcats. Twitter and I agreed that it was the one against the Phoenix Suns because they're down double digits on the road on the West Coast on the second of a back-to-back. No Carmelo Anthony. The Suns were not good that year, but they're better than the Bobcats, for crying out loud. Well, I thought they were better than the Bobcats at the time. And J.R. Smith helped lead the Knicks come back from 24 down to win that game in the season which they won 54 games. And that season has its own seeding itself, which we will get to eventually. So the winner of the 16 seed play-in match in the unforgettable region, the J.R. Smith buzzer beater versus the Suns, will take on the number one overall seed New York Football Giants, win Super Bowl 42. Sorry, J.R. Smith. That's all I gotta say. The Yankees winning the 2009 World Series is the number 2 overall seed, number 1 seed in the excitement region. That will be taking on Mika Zibanejad, scoring 5 goals in a game against the Washington Capitals. The number 1 seed in the improbable region, number 3 overall seed, Giants win Super Bowl 46. That will be going up against Mariano Rivera's final All-Star game in 2013 at Citi Field not against the Mets, but the Mets fans and everybody giving them that standing ovation, then playing Enter Sandman. Job well done by Citi Field. That deserves to be in the bracket of glory. And plus, Mo wins the All-Star Game MVP for pitching a dominant 1-2-3 inning in the bottom of the 8th inning of that game. My number 1 seed in the fun region, the number 4 overall seed, the 2014 Rangers making the Stanley Cup final, and their opponent in the Twitter bracket will be 3 Grand Slams in a game. In my bracket, it's Victor Cruz's long touchdown, his first NFL touchdown against the Philadelphia Eagles. The 2-15 matchups. In probable region, you have Stefan's overtime goal against the Washington Capitals, against Mariano Rivera's last game in Yankee Stadium. In the excitement region, Derek Jeter's 3,000th hit against Jason Kidd's 4-point play in Brooklyn as he helped lead the Knicks come back from a big deficit in that game on national TV. In the fun region, Derek Jeter walk-off in his final game against Andy Pettit's last game in Houston. And last but not least, in the 2-15 matchups, in the unforgettable region, Martin St. Louis playoff overtime goal against the Canadiens versus the Yankees signed Masahiro Tanaka. Your 3-14 matchups, you have in the improbable region, A-Rod ties it, Teixeira wins it in 2009 in the ALDS Game 2 against the Minnesota Twins versus Knicks sign Amari Stoudemire. 2017 Game 5 against the Indians in the Unforgettable region. Against Derek Jeter, first pitch home run in 2013 after coming off the disabled list against the Tampa Bay Rays. In the Fun region, Greg Bird home run off of Andrew Miller Game 3 against the Indians versus Tyler Austin and Aaron Judge back-to-back in their first big league game. And last but not least, in the 314s, in the excitement region, Raul Labanez ties it and then wins it against the Orioles in 2012 in Game 3 against Brett Gardner, big home run at Wrigley Field. The 314 matchups. In the Fun region, the 2012-13 Knicks win 54 games against Chris Kreider's playoff overtime goal against the Bruins. In the excitement region, Carmelo Anthony game-tying, then game-winning threes versus the Chicago Bulls on Easter Sunday versus crazy 14-inning walk-off win against the Athletics in 2012. In the unforgettable region, Yankees signed Garrett Cole versus Knicks beat Celtics on Christmas Day in 2011 to open up what was a lockout-shortened season. And last but not least, in the 413s, in the improbable region, Yankees signed CC Sabathia versus Knicks' 13-game winning streak in 2013. After Miami's big 27-game winning streak. It's funny because the Knicks' win streak was in the middle. It was like 6 games when Miami stopped, and then the Knicks' winning streak became like a bigger deal once Miami's big streak stopped. The 512s in the Fun region. Victor Cruz 99-yard touchdown against the Jets versus 2017 Yankees Game 4 comeback against the Astros. In the unforgettable region, Knicks trade for Carmelo Anthony versus Odell Beckham Jr. catch. In the excitement region, Chris Kreider ties it, Ryan McDonough wins it, 2015 Game 5 against the Capitals versus Rangers luck into Capo Caco in the lottery last year. And last but not least, the 512s in the improbable region. Linsanity as your 5 seed. 12 seed Daniel Jones leads comeback in Tampa. 6 seeds versus 11s. In the excitement region, Melo 62 points against Charlotte versus, in both the Twitter bracket and my bracket, Hagelin overtime goal eliminating the Penguins. In the improbable region, Richards ties it, Stahl wins it in 2012 Game 5 against the Capitals versus Brian McCann walk-off home run against the Tampa Bay Rays on the eve of the 4th of July where he saw the fireworks, and Michael K's call was, "That's fireworks," or "There's fireworks." And obviously McCann was the 11th seed, and the 6th seed was the Rangers comeback against the Caps in Game 5 in 2012. The unforgettable region 6-11. Martin St. Louis goal on Mother's Day in 2014 in Game 6 against the Penguins versus Tiger Woods wins the 2019 Masters. The fun region, last but not least, Game 7 win in 2014 against Sidney Crosby and the Penguins versus, in my bracket, it's A-Rod's 3,000th hit, and the Twitter bracket, it's A-Rod's 600th home run. The 7-10 matchups, the improbable region, 7 seed, Corey Webster picks off Brett Favre in the 2007 NFC title game versus Luis Castillo drops the ball in the Subway Series as the Yankees have an improbable walk-off win. So that's fitting that's in the improbable region. In the fun region, your 7th seed is R.W. McQuarters picks off Tony Romo. And your 10 seed is A-Rod's home run off of Ryan Dempster at Fenway after hit by pitch in 2013. In the excitement region, the 7th seed is the Kyle Williams fumble, which leads the Giants' game-winning drive for the Lawrence Tynes field goal to get them into the Super Bowl for the second time in a 4-year span. And the 10 seed is the Giants' big comeback against the Redskins in 2007. And that was their first win of the 2007 season, which ultimately they went 10-6, got the 5 seed, and wound up winning the Super Bowl. So that was a big comeback win against the Redskins in the regular season that I thought needed to be mentioned. And last but not least, the unforgettable region. Your 7 seed, Knicks crush the Miami Heat and LeBron James in their first game after Superstorm Sandy. That was the home opener in their first game of the season after their initial season opener in Brooklyn against the Nets got postponed due to Superstorm Sandy. And the 10 seed is Evan Longoria walk-off home run against the Yankees that essentially got the Rays in the playoffs, but eliminated the Boston Red Sox as the Boston Red Sox's collapse was done. So, and a moment against the Yankees coming in the bracket of glory, and that's only because it knocked a rival out of the postseason. Meaningless game for the Yankees, as everybody knows. And the game that the Yankees didn't need to have, the Rays needed to have to get that wild card, eliminated the Red Sox. So that was a fun moment that deserved seating on this bracket. And last but not least, your 8 versus 9s. Your 8 seed versus 9 in the fun region. 8 seed Yankees signed Mark Teixeira. 9 seed 2013 Game 7 crushing of Alex Ovechkin in the Washington Capitals. In the improbable region, 8 seed Andy Pettitte out of retirement in 2012 versus 9 seed Rangers acquire Rick Nash. In the unforgettable region, your 8 seed Roger Clemens out of retirement, and this is in there because of Susan Waldman going absolutely nuts. And this qualified for the bracket because my rule is 2007 to today, pretty much. And 2007, I was really into the Yankees, or starting to get into the Yankees at the time. I knew who Roger Clemens was and what he was about because of the dynasty teams. And it was cool to see him come out of retirement. And obviously, Susan Waldman going crazy on the radio. Michael Kay, I think, had a good announcement of it on Yes. And obviously, they play Rocket Man by Elton John after he makes the announcement. The stadium crowd goes nuts. Susan Waldman loses her mind, and that's why that's on the bracket. And your 9 seed, Giants snap Cowboys win streak in 2016. As the Cowboys started that season 11-1. They lost in week 1 against the Giants, and then they won 10 or 11 straight games. There have been a couple times where they almost lost. In Pittsburgh, they almost lost. They could have lost in Minnesota against the Vikings. But ultimately, Eli made a big play to Odell Beckham Jr. The defense shut Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott in that offense down, and the Giants won a ugly final score of 10-7 to snap their the Cowboys win streak and to get off the schneid of their own because they had lost the previous weekend against the Steelers. And then the very last matchup in the round of 64, the 8-9 match in the excitement region. The year 8 seed, Mika Zibanejad playoff overtime goal versus the Canadians, and your 9 seed, Eli Manning to Hakeem Nicks Hail Mary touchdown catch to end the first half against the Packers in freezing cold Lambeau Field. And the Twitter voting will begin in a couple of minutes for the first half of the round of 64. And then I'm going to have guests on after the Twitter bracket's complete to analyze that and my own bracket as well. Those guests are to be determined. And that's it for the show today. I'll be back tomorrow discussing the PGA press conference that's going on today and whether there'll still be a Travelers Championship this weekend or not. We'll go over the KBO results, the soccer results, and I'll do my 2013 top 10 artists as well. Hope you guys have a great day, everyone.